jitters I get like before playing a rugby game, and I'm talking like a big rugby game. So to be here in front of you guys, man, full house. For those on this behind the camera who can't see, there's standing room only in the back. People are stuffing their faces with donuts. Politely, of course, because we're Canadian. Oh man, where to begin? So you guys have all seen this picture, and I'm thinking, okay, I look like a badass, first of all. And I'm thinking, how do I soften myself up a little bit? I'm not always that person. I'm not always figuring out a way to push out my biceps with the back of my hands. So I'm like, well, as a kid, right? There must be some cute pictures of me as a kid. Well, I have that same face. That scowl. All right, maybe another one. No, still got it. I'm like, okay, pets. Everybody loves pets. So I got to show you a pet. This is my dog, Rockstar. I'm a huge, huge animal lover. I grew up outside of Montreal on a farm. We shave him into a lion. Looks really tough. He's only 4 kilos, so there he is. I spent here we go, Canadian Olympic, best performance ever. So this is really exciting for me to be here watching the Olympics over the past 2 weeks. They just ended recently. And so this is my opportunity now to share my story with you guys. So I spent 5 years on the national team, all while working here at Imperial. Started with the company in 2008, only joined the national team in 2011. I did 5 jobs over those 5 years that I was on the national team. And if ever you've done a job transition, there's a certain added level of stress that happens when you do those. So on top of all the training that I was doing outside of work, there was that extra stressor of moving across 3 different departments and actually doing a transfer from the downstream to the upstream. My asphalt manager, Frank Alcal, actually came to my very first appearance for Canada in Oakville, Ontario, so that was kind of cool. I volunteered at the Vancouver 2010 Olympics. That was kind of the real bug for me to try to make it at the national team level. And I was 28 years old when I made the national team. I was a 28-year-old rookie. And I think at that point it probably took a lot of courage to even want to try, because you never want to get told that you're too old to do something. That sucks. That's something you can't even control. I didn't control when my parents decide to conceive me. That's not my fault. So I played rugby when I moved to Calgary, 2008. I played rugby literally just to make friends. That was the whole purpose of why I played rugby. Throughout my engineering co-ops, when I took mining engineering at McGill, don't get any curl ideas, by the way. I like moving to a new town, Windsor, Ontario, Fort McMurray, Calgary. I did a co-op in Montreal. I even met my husband playing rugby, so cute. We met in Fort McMurray in 2006. But you just, like, there's something about rugby, about that community aspect that I just love. And so when I moved here in 2008, that was the first thing I did. 30 male and female friends right away. Finishing off at McGill in 2007, I finished off as the team captain, team MVP, and one of the league all-stars. I came to Calgary wanting to join Team Alberta, and I was hot stuff. So I thought. I tried out for Team Alberta, trips to Red Deer every single Sunday throughout the summer, more rugby, more friends. I got selected to go to the team. On the team, nationals were in Montreal that year, which was my hometown. Going back to play against people I had played against at McGill or Concordia or any of the surrounding universities. And we got to Montreal, made the team. You pay $1,000 to go, pay to play at the rep level. And I didn't play. We had 3 games against BC, against Ontario, and then we had the bronze medal final at Quebec, and I wasn't even good enough to put on a jersey. I didn't get named to a single one of those squads. There's 3 of us that year that didn't get selected to play. I was the only person that kept playing rugby out of the 3 of us. The other 2, they never played rugby again. They were so heartbroken, the sport they love, that they got denied by that coach. 2009, played a little bit more, got to start the bronze medal final up in St. Albert. 2010, started all the games. 2011, scored twice in the national championship final. We ended up winning that, and that's the year I got selected to represent Team Canada. That's me in my first cap on the right, so young, right? 28, remember? I wear a lot of sunscreen. My mother's a dermatologist. And so that was, she really is. And that was like a huge, huge, huge moment for me in 2011 to be selected to play for Canada, playing in Oakville. My family came, parents, 2 sisters, nieces, nephew, my husband, and of course my boss, Frank. And then something incredible happened in 2012. I captained Alberta. I scored 7 times at the national championship, more than twice of any other athlete. And then this happened. Rugby Canada Player of the Year. In 2000, I'm going to get emotional. I have Polish and Ukrainian background, so you have to deal with that. In 2008, I was literally not even good enough to be named to a squad at the provincial level. I was a club player. 4 years later, I'm the best rugby player in Canada. Like, what? That's crazy. And one of my favorite quotes, perseverance can change failure into extraordinary achievement. Keep trying, something good will come out of it. And that's exactly what happened. Rugby made me so happy. Playing for Canada was truly just the cherry on top. And I think a lot of people, when they view what it takes to be successful, they picture this line. And you start, and you follow all these policies and procedures, and you go up, and eventually you go through all the gates and MCAPs, and ta-da, you're going to have a project. And it's, same thinking if you look at athletes who played at the Olympics. They probably, they went through some hardship. That's reality. Up, down. The best analogy I could find is like you're climbing a volcano, and it's a volcano that's erupting, and you're dodging hot lava, and then there's a weather storm that comes in, and then you get kicked down to the bottom, and then you're like, okay, do I try again? And you have a choice, and you have so much self-doubt, and you're like, well, maybe it's worth the risk. As a national team player, my quote-unquote claim to fame was rarely being beaten one-on-one. I love to tackle people. I love it. There's something about that physical, I don't know, I just love it. So I was in Las Vegas, 2015, and we were playing Japan. And a Japanese player had the ball, and she was cutting across to the left. And we were playing sevens rugby, so less players on the field, something a little bit different than maybe what some of you are used to seeing with 15 on each side. So there's lots of room, so people cut back all the time. So I knew she was going to cut back, and I wanted her to. Right shoulder, strong shoulder, and she cut back, and I dropped. I tore my left ACL, my 3rd torn ACL. And if you don't know anything about tearing your ACLs, it's a tiny, tough ligament in your knee. A lot of people literally can't walk without it. It's a career killer. 6 to 9 months as an elite athlete to return, 9 to 12 as the weekend warrior. Some athletes never come back from an ACL surgery. So what to do? That year, the Women's Rugby Super Series was coming to Calgary, and I have never had the opportunity to play rep rugby in Calgary in front of all my people that supported me on the journey to make the national team back in 2011. So, while still in Vegas, I texted my surgeon, because when you're an athlete and you've had 8 knee surgeries by the end of your career, you have your surgeon's cell phone number. And I texted her, and I said, Lori, I tore my ACL. And she wrote back, she said, I'll see you next Monday at 9 a.m. That's why there's waiting periods for ACLs, because people like me jump the line. But in all honesty, I thought I was going in to get a consult that Monday. So I tore my ACL Friday the 13th in Las Vegas. I wasn't betting that night. I had bad luck that day. February 23rd, go into the hospital, and I honestly thought I was going in for a consult, and she had booked me in for surgery. I got surgery that day. She walks into the room. She goes, are you sure you tore your ACL? Oh yeah, I'm sure. She comes in, and you do this test on your knee where they try to move the bones around. Clunk, clunk. Yep, you did a good job. I stayed awake during surgery, because if you do that, you get less side effects and you can recover faster. And I also wanted to know exactly what was going on in my knee. If there was any other damage, I want to know right away. 4 months later, playing in Calgary, not sure if I could make that squad. What is this going to be? It's a surprise video is what it is. So I went back to my surgeon, 13 days later, talk about my rehab so far. And me and my husband had talked about if there was any chance that I could make it back from surgery. And the internet is a wonderful thing, but when you start Googling ACLs, athletes, early return, you get horror stories of people tearing their ACL again and not making it. 3.5 weeks after surgery, that's the actual video of me squatting. I was off crutches in 2 days, squatting a decent weight at 3.5 weeks. In April, the announcement went public that Rugby Canada was going to play in Calgary. And so as the face of women's rugby here in Calgary, I got paraded around. And so many people knew about my ACL, and they're like, oh, it sucks that you're not going to be able to play at home. That would have been so great. And I'm holding back tears, and they don't know about my rehab. And it's still that little speck of a possibility at the very end of the tunnel. Near the end of May, May 19th, I got a call from the coaches being like, hey, we heard your rehab's going well. If you want to play, you're going to have to run the beep test. The beep test is running back and forth. Oh, that feels good for my knee. That feels good for my knee. Okay, 11 weeks post-surgery, I had to run a beep test, and I had to hit the national standard. And I did, and we videoed it. That's a little screenshot. My husband, my trainer, and my physio, we all jumped the fence at Foothills Park. And we set up speakers, and we had to video it, and then I sent it in. And then a few days later, okay, your beep test score was good, but what about playing rugby? This is 3 months after ACL surgery. So then I had to have a scout come and watch me play at my club team's practice. And me and Graham, we chit-chatted after practice and formalities, and he goes, which knee is it again? I was like, ha, you can't tell. So I got the call. I got an email, May 26th. I'd made the squad, but I didn't want Alberta 2008 to happen again. So I really, really had a lot of hard work to do. Tuesday, May 26th. Whew. Friday, May 29th. I got a call. I was at the mall with one of my sisters, Trish. My mom called. She goes, hi, where are you? I say, I'm at the mall with Trish. She goes, okay, call me back. And I said, no, tell me now. And there's a long pause, and I said, is it Dad? And she goes, yes. I said, is he gone? And she says, yes. From the highest of highs to the absolute lowest of lows. I wanted to throw in the towel. June 3rd, the announcement goes public about the squad. Nobody knew about my dad. And you get these insane amount of text messages and media requests, and I'm in a corner crying on my husband's shoulder. He's like, it's okay, you can do it. And so we're preparing for my father's viewing at our farm in Ontario, and I'm running sprints up and down a gravel driveway. My dad's death went public a few days later on June 6th. That was the most insane 10 days I've ever had to deal with. From the high of making the squad to literally doing the impossible of being able to come back from surgery that quickly, to my dad passing away, to the influx of congratulation messages, to then the influx of all the condolences. June 27th was when we played New Zealand, and now it was more important than ever that I had to make that squad. And I did. Mom, Trish, is in the middle there at the bottom, sister, and then Stephanie on your left. She actually works for the company. Hi, Steph. It's insane how many fans came out to Calgary, and I literally almost knew every single one. There's my faces up on the top right-hand corner that a lot of people were holding, and then there's my friends that painted their bellies with MJ, which is my rugby nickname. France 2014, taking risks. Making it in June after ACL surgery, that was a huge personal risk, but there's also a whole bunch of stuff about team risk. And our team in 2014 played like no other. We were backed up, oops, here we go. Backed up against the wall That's the France goal line in the back there. Any other team, we stole possession, and even if you don't know anything about rugby, we should have kicked the ball out of bounds. We should have saved ourselves from trouble. Instead, we took a huge, huge, huge chance. She goes all the way. She scores. We're playing France in France in the semifinal of the World Cup. We have never made it to a World Cup final. A few minutes later, the end of the game, and what happens in rugby is you don't know how much time there is left. And so the ref, she's trying to check. You're going to see her. She puts her hand on her ear. She's asking how much time is left to the other refs. And then she blows the whistle and we lose it. We went to the World Cup final. We lost to England, but we came out with the silver medal. Courage. I've gone over my time. I apologize, Shane and Sean. This is a piece of my dad's belt from 2006, and it has the words, courage, laser engraved in it. Courage is the ability to do something that frightens you. And if the only thing that you can take away from today is try to do something that frightens you. Courage to try in your personal life, in your love life, in your work life, do something that scares you. Because stuff that can happen, that's me looking back at my family after that semi-final win in the crowd. Do something that scares you. Have the courage to try. Thank you.